Okay, so, hello, daytime review. Okay, so, I have said on my last review of Tim Burton's Batman movie, I'd make them once every 2 days. 1 or 2 days. What happened is New Year's stuff, family, all that. Now I got school. So these videos will come out sometime during the week when I feel like it. Um, and also, I'm gonna skip before to Don't worry, I will review Batman Returns, but I'm gonna skip before to another Batman movie. You're gonna think to yourself, Batman Forever? No, there was actually a theatrical Batman movie in between Batman Returns and Batman Forever, and not too many. Die hard, only die hard Batman fans know this movie. Um, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now, I'll give you a little history on Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It was set in the animated series world. Batman the animated series with, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Mark Hamill's the Joker, um, so on and so forth. Paul Williams is the Penguin, all that. And this movie is is a theatrical movie. It's only an hour and 16 minutes. About hours 15, 20 minutes. Not too long of a movie. It's very it was very well animated. It came out after the anime series was on its peak of success, and it was a big box office bomb, okay? Big box office bomb. Not too many people knew about this movie till later, like Siskel and Ebert. They reviewed this movie 2 years later than it came out because they didn't know about it and they loved it. Now, the reason why this movie was such a bomb is number one, it came out in the midst of Batman Returns and Batman Forever. So it came out in between the live action Batman movies in 1993. Now, the it's just seemed kind of so people only knew about those movies, and also they didn't advertise it correctly. Like they like cuz they spent all their money on the movie, which does show, and they had little left for advertising, and there was like very few previews, and it was just a huge box office bomb. To this date, it is the least successful Batman movie at the box office, even under the Adam West Batman movie in '66. Even under Batman and Robin. He'll say Batman and Robin is, critically it is, but believe it or not, box office wise, it was still not bad. It actually still did pretty good at the box office. But that's another topic. This movie is actually the lowest grossing Batman product. It was a huge box office bomb. And how does the movie hold up? It's great! It is actually my favorite Batman movie, even ahead of the Tim Burton Batmans, until The Dark Knight. It is my favorite Batman movie up to The Dark Knight. I like it better than Batman Begins. I like it better than Batman 1989, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. This movie's amazing. Now, why am I reviewing this movie before Batman Returns, when Batman Returns came out a year before this? And the reason being is I watched this movie first, so it's more fresh in my mind. I haven't got around to watching Batman Returns, and I knew that Batman Mask of Phantasm is an hour and 20 minutes, and I had an hour and 20 minutes to spare. So that's why I watched it, and it's still fresh in my mind. Now, this movie is so good. Now, what this movie does better than Tim Burton's Batman movie is we get to know this Batman better, I guess you could say. We get to know Bruce Wayne. We feel closer to this Bruce Wayne. I do anyway. I feel closer to this Bruce Wayne than I have with Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne. And I'll tell you why. It's because we get backstory. Backstory is very important. But, but, it doesn't take up the whole movie like Batman Begins. See, Batman Begins spent too much, I think a little too much. It's still a great movie, but that's another topic. A little too much on the backstory, whereas this one spends just the right amount of time on backstory. Now, with Batman 89, we don't know why he chose bats. All we know is his parents is murdered. We don't know why he chose bats. We don't know how he got the equipment to make it. We don't know what inspired the equipment. We don't know what inspired him to be a Cape Crusader. We know the death of his parents, but why bats? Why to fight crime? We don't know all that in the 89 Batman movies, and it's hard to get personal with this 89 Batman movie. Now, that's actually my biggest problem with the movie, aside from some pointless characters, like I said before, like, what's his name? The reporter guy and Commissioner Gordon. But the movie still had great atmosphere, great acting, and great moments. This movie has the Tim Burton atmosphere, but it feels more like the city. Okay, now, I love the look of the city in Batman 1989, but you could tell it feels boxy. I don't want to say boxy, but I don't want to say small. Yeah, I guess I do want to say small. Like, you could always feel like you're on a set. And with animation, it's true with all the Batman movies, except for maybe The Dark Knight, because they actually filmed it in a city. But with all the Batman movies leading, from Batman live action anyway, from Batman 89 to Batman and Robin, the city always felt like you were on a set. Now, this movie, due to the animation, because animation shows you the vastness of Gotham, this movie really shows the vastness of Gotham, due because the animation is just so good. And it still has that Tim Burton feel. The dark shadows, the tall buildings, the Art Deco style to everything. It still has it, only it feels more vast. You actually feel like you're in a city rather than a set like the other Batman movies. And this movie does it perfectly. Like, you feel the vastness of Gotham. You don't feel like you're just in a contained set with the Monarch Theater in every shot. This movie, you feel like it can go for miles, the city of Gotham. And also, what I love, out of all the Batman movies, this one has my favorite fight scenes, and I'll tell you why, is they feel really realistic. Like, even with Adam West, every Batman scene, even with Batman Begins, like Adam West through Michael Keaton, it just feels like the traditional punching, you know, stuff like that. And, like, it's interesting because the live action fighting feels more cartoony than the cartoon fighting. It's just so weird. Like, I feel like when I've come to watch the fighting, I feel like the cartoon is more realistic than the live action one. And I think it's due to because with animation you can actually see the contact happening, and you can actually see the muscles like flexing through and punching him, and it's the sound effects that they have, like psh, like you feel it. Remember in my Korra video how I said that not since Batman Mask of the Phantasm has I seen animation where the way it's animated, the way like the muscles move, and the way how quick it is, like also the quickness and the sound effects, just the way it's animated. It's like you feel it. It feels realistic. It actually feels like you could get hurt from getting punched by this guy. Now, I just love the fight scenes because they're quick. You feel the impact. I love fight scenes where you just feel the impact. Like, you feel like you got hit in your imagination. Like, these fight scenes are brilliant. They're just brilliant. Because they're quick, the sound effects are on spot. You can see the muscles extending through the arm. You can actually see them making contact. It's not like, oh, it's actually Like when you and it's also it leaves an impact on the person. Like with the other Tim Burton movies, you just feel them punch, they fall down. They're not a mark. There's not a mark on them. But with this movie, you could see blood. When Batman like kicks the Joker in the face, you see a tooth fly out, and you can see a bruise. That's see that's what people don't get is with animation can be more realistic because they can do stuff like that. Like it leaves an impact. Like if I had a thing of Play-Doh and I punched it, this is what it'd be like in like live action. If I had a thing of Play-Doh and I punched it and it just falls down, but with no mark, it doesn't feel as like I actually punched it. Now with this movie, you punch it and it leaves a mark. It looks like you actually punched it. Okay? Now if you take the fight scenes to this and compare it to the other Batman movies, it would be like, whoa, this is some good fighting. Now, what is so like you could see the bruises, like when somebody gets punched and let's say Batman Forever. You don't see a mark on their face. It just looks like they fell down. With this you see blood. You see I mean, I'm not a big fan of gore, but I like a little bit of blood to make it look realistic. Like bruises and all that. It just, you feel it. It is just so realistic compared to other fightings in Batman movies. I just love it. Now, I've gone on long enough about that. Now, the voice acting, top notch. This is not just the best acting I've seen in Batman. This is like some of the best voice acting I've ever seen in animation. Like the voice acting, like you feel the emotions in everything. Like let's say an animated movie like I don't know, The Great Mouse Detective. Or no, not Great Mouse. Like like let's say this 1970s Batman. The cartoon Adam West one where you hear no, the Joker is there. We must get him for the greater good. You don't feel like with this movie, you feel compassion in their voices. You feel sadness in their voices. You believe that they're real. You believe it's with their tone of voice. Like animation, voice acting can be harder. As with Kevin Conroy said, he's like, you just have to express everything in your voice. See, with movies, you can do it through your face, through your body movements, through, not just your voice. But with animation, you can't see that. You have to have the voice, and you have to have not just the emotion, but the right attitude and the voice. You need to have attitude, the right tone. And this movie, like all the voice actors, except for maybe the exception of Mark Hamill, but he's the Joker. The Joker's supposed to be kind of over the top and Mark Hamill's voice acting is good, but not good in the way that Kevin Conroy's voice acting is. Like, you just feel the slimiest. Like, Mark Hamill just gets the sleaziest, slimiest, creepiest voice I've ever seen. He does it with Fire Lord Ozai, and he does it perfectly with the Joker. He just gets so into it. Like, it sounds so much mischievous. It's like the most mischievous, uh, slimiest, sleazeballest voice I've ever seen. And it fits this Joker perfectly. Like, the fate, like, he has a grin, and his eyes are just like, yeah. Like, great Joker. I would say I like Jack Nicholson's maybe a little better, but Mark Hamill for animation really nails it. Reason why I like Jack Nicholson's a little better, I'll tell you, is it's just Jack Nicholson being his memorable self. Now again, it's to do with animation, like these faces, they look kind of cartoony, whereas Jack Nicholson's really look crazy. Like Jack what made Jack Nicholson so memorable is he looked like he was having a ball with his performance. Like he was just having so much. You could tell he was having so much fun playing the Joker. It he couldn't stop. It just, and with animation you can't really do that. Like you can't really show, like I know in the recording we see like stands up and he really gets into it, but with animation and the way they draw him, it's not like that, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, the voice fits this character really well. I'm just saying that Jack Nicholson's was better and more memorable because you could tell on his face and on his voice that he was just having so much fun, and like I don't know, he turned into a living cartoon character. Now I like Kevin Conroy's Batman into Michael Keaton because with Michael you really feel Kevin Conroy's emotion. You feel his pain. With Michael Keaton you didn't really feel the pain with Batman. And this is true with all Batman movies. That what Michael Kevin Conroy does better than Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, Adam West, George Clooney, Val Kilmer, is you could really feel the pain in his voice. You could really feel the hurt he's had with his past. I feel this much more. And it's probably just his low voice. It just feels, rather than Christian Bale's calmness and Michael Keaton's quietness. You just feel more of the emotion with Kevin Conroy, the pain and hurt, than you do with Michael Keaton. So the story is about, there's this ghost called the Phantasm that's going after all these mob bosses, killing them, and people keep thinking it's Batman because he kind of has like a cloaked figure and stuff like that, and he keeps going after all these mob bosses, and this one mob boss goes to the Joker and tells him, by the way, this is spoilers, so I don't care. So the Joker goes to the mob boss and tells him, the guy goes to the Joker and tells him what's happening, that Batman's killing everybody, and the Joker probably doesn't believe it, and the Joker finds out it's the Phantasm, and so on and so forth. It's just this mystery of who's the Phantasm, and then there's this crooked mayor who is trying to get Batman. He's trying to get Batman. He's trying to, because he thinks the Joker, he thinks that the Batman's Phantasm. But of course he finds out that it's not Batman because the Joker comes to him. And the Joker makes him laugh maniacally. I don't know how the Joker did that. And also there's backstory, like we find out why Batman doesn't show his death, the parents' death, but we already know that. But we get to see why he chose to be Batman. He wanted to strike fear in his criminals, because before he was just wearing this thing and this like ski mask, and he wasn't striking fear. So he chose bats. He wanted to strike fear. Same thing with Christian Bale's. We see where he gets the idea for the Batmobile. We see how he makes the suit. We see him discover the Batcave. It's just, we get development on this character. We see his love life. Now, I'll tell you something about Batman. All the love stories in Batman have been the weakest part, with the exception, even in Batman Returns, that's another topic, but like Selena Kyle, I found to be much more interesting than Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale just seemed like the normal damsel in distress. What's good about this character, I think her name is Andrea Beaumont. These Bruce Wayne and Andrea, in this movie, the relationship doesn't feel weak. It actually, you like this relationship. You want to see them together. Maybe because they stick character to Andrea. Because Selena Kyle, not, what's her name? It's just, Vicky Vale was just the scream queen. She was just the normal, average damsel in distress. Whereas Andrea Beaumont, she's not really a damsel in distress. Actually, she's very good at fighting. but we just get to see she's not just there for love interest. We get to see her character. We get to see her character grow. We get to see how her and Bruce, you know, how the relationship has gone so south and how it's actually worked in some areas. We actually see why, like, in Batman Begins, like, we can't be together because you're Batman. It's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Okay? With this movie, you get to see, you realize why they can't be together. And it's because, uh, she, she has to hide. She has to hide because she's the Phantasm. And if the cops find her of being the Phantasm, she'll be in jail. And she has to get away with all these criminals. Like, she has to kill all these criminals because they killed her father. Okay, because her father did deal with the mob. And we get some of the Joker's backstory. I mean, stuff we already knew. He was originally a gangster and he got thrown into a vat of chemicals. It doesn't say that he got thrown into a vat of chemicals, but we already know that. In my opinion, this movie is the perfect origin story to Batman because it doesn't take up the majority of the movie. It's like it goes on with other stuff, but it's actually very, very in depth. You get to understand Batman's character more than, let's say, in Batman Begins. Now, Batman Begins I really like. I know I'm gonna sound kind of negative to that, but I do like Batman Mask of the Phantasm better than Batman Begins. Not quite as much as The Dark Knight, but that's another topic. Now, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it is very, very, like, much like Citizen Kane. Like, it shows backstory, and then it gets on with the myth. Like, this movie is very... Actually, they said that this movie was inspired by Citizen Kane. And I think more movies need to do this with origin stories, anyway. It's the Citizen Kane effect. You tell backstory, then you get on with the real plot. The plot that's actually happening. Backstory, plot, actual finding the Phantasm, backstory. Getting on with finding the Phantasm, backstory. Like similar with Citizen Kane. Backstory, finding out what Rosebud is. Backstory, what Rosebud is. And actually, if superhero movies did that more, it would seem less... Origin stories would be easier to write. Okay? Because origin stories would seem more interesting, I guess you could say. Because it is easy to write an origin story, but it would seem more interesting because it would seem less formulaic. Because with origin stories, very formulaic. Like Man of Steel, I love that movie, but it is pretty much Batman Begins. Pretty much. It's, you see his backstory, why he has to be Superman, what happened in his childhood, what happened to his parents. It's Batman Begins. It really is. Only with Superman. Now with this movie, it's not quite Batman Begins because there's two plots going on. There's the backstory plot, and then there's the plot of Batman being a superhero and discovering the Phantasm. Like if let's say Man of Steel did this. Instead of an origin story, you show backstory, then you show backstory and why he wants to be Superman, then you show him solving and saving the day. Backstory and why he wants to be Superman, showing him finding out a way to save the world from General Zod, instead of backstory, origin story, General Zod, climax. It's all like that. Batman Begins, origin story, becoming Batman, discovering who he is, discovering out tricks, climax, trying to figure out how to beat Ra's al Ghul, end. And don't get me wrong, I love those movies, but the origin story is getting really formulaic. And I'll tell you why you do need I like the idea of finding out one person's origin, but don't keep always doing an origin story. Now it's interesting because Batman Begins, I think, focuses too much on the origin, and Batman 89 doesn't focus enough on the origin. Because we need a backstory to help us grow with the character and understand him better. Like, I don't understand why Michael Keaton wants to be Batman, but I understand. I do understand why Christian Bale wants to be Batman, but they spend too much of the movie on that, and we're like, okay, we get it already. Now, with Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it's perfect because we get backstory, and then it's like a little bit of an origin story, a little bit of a regular superhero movie, a little bit of an origin story, so we get to understand the character better. And it's most actually Batman Mask of Phantasm is not really an origin story. It's got some origin in it, but it's it's mostly about the plot of Batman trying to save the day from the Phantasm. It's got origin and then Batman doing his thing. Origin and then Batman doing his thing. So I can understand him better and like the plot better. And the plot that Batman's doing hooks into his origin story. So it's just the perfect balance of origin and regular Batman doing everyday stuff. It's just the perfect balance. If you want an origin story, but you don't want a total origin story, you want just a little bit, you want a balance between Batman, a superhero actually saving the day, rather than an origin story, this movie's perfect because it has mostly Batman doing his stuff. We get origin on why he wants to be that character. I love this movie. And also, I love the score. The score in this movie by, I forget her name, I think it's Shirley Walker. Danny Elfman did the soundtrack to the animated series, but the movie's mostly done by Shirley Walker. And man, is it really good. Like, the opening scene, that music, da 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 da. Great Batman soundtrack. It's heroic, but sets the mood up. Similar to the 89 Batman movie. I remember how I praised the score to the 89 Batman movie. It's not used quite as good as it is in the 89 Batman movie. Like, no, da 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 da. Like, that the score in Batman Mask of Phantasm isn't used quite as well as it is in the 89 Batman movie. But it's still a great score. It's probably my favorite song, but they use it better. Like, it's probably my favorite Batman theme, but the other Batman theme was used better throughout the movie in Batman 89 because it set up the atmosphere, whereas this one it only plays like in the beginning and the end and a little bit in the middle. Like, but if they would have done the same thing as the Tim Burton Batman movie with the score, perfect. Like Batman driving down a highway, you see Gotham, you see him trying to stop the Joker, and thoughts running through his head, and it's playing that da 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 da. That would have been great. Um, I like this. I don't like this a lot better than Batman 89. I like it a little better because I think we understand, we have more of an emotional connection to Batman in this movie, and the love interest is handled so much better than it is in 89. But there's some things that 89 did better. Like I said, the Joker was better in 89, and the music, how the score was used was better in Batman 89. But like the romance is better in Mask of the Phantasm. The Batman is better in Mask of the Phantasm. Gotham, because we get to see its vastness, we actually feel like we're in the city, is better in this movie, whereas in the other movie you just felt like you're in a set. And the fight scenes are so much better in this movie because the other ones, and this goes for all Batman movies, not just 89. Um, the fight scenes are just, so realistic. You feel the impact, you feel the speed. It's just really good. Batman Mask of the Phantasm, I give 4 out of 4 stars. Great movie. I give it a 95% out of 100. It's just a great Batman movie. Right under The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is about a 98. The Dark Knight is about 100%, whereas this one's about 95, 97%. This would have been, if it wasn't for The Dark Knight in 2008, this probably would have been the best Batman movie ever. But Christopher Nolan is a genius, and I'll get to that later, but Batman Mask of Phantasm, I can't praise it enough. It's got great voice acting, great fight scenes, great score, great backstory, great conflict. Even Mark Hamill as the Joker, though not as good as Jack Nicholson, great villain. Um, very. Another thing I like to notice is how they fitted the Joker in this. Like, at first you think this story has nothing to do with the Joker, and how they bring the Joker into this doesn't seem contrived or forced at all. It actually seems perfectly how they do it. So great villain, great side characters like Alfred, great romance. This is a perfect Batman movie. It really is. Even though it's not as good as The Dark Knight was just better, but this one's a perfect Batman movie. Like, if I'm in the mood for Batman, but I'm not in the mood for The Dark Knight's 2 hour and 50-minute length, I would watch, or 40-minute length, I would watch Mask of the Phantasm, because it's really short. It's only an hour and 20 minutes, but man, is it so good. Like, every piece of dialogue, every frame is put to good use. And I can't praise this movie enough. I recommend it big time. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. If you're a fan of Batman, if you're a fan of animation, if you're a fan of superhero movies, if you're a fan of origin stories, and if you're a fan of not just origin stories, but actual superhero doing his thing, you'll like it. It's got the best of both worlds. I can't praise this movie enough. Mark Hamill's Joker, Kevin Conroy's Batman, and I can't remember who played Andrea Beaumont, are just superb. So I'm just gonna repeat myself. It's just a great movie. So I recommend this to anybody, not just Batman fans. Anybody could enjoy this. Kids could enjoy it. Adults could join. Even though the fighting's realistic, kids could handle it because it's in cartoon form. Like, it's not like... Yeah, kids could. They won't get bad dreams from this movie. This movie's actually very good. This is actually a G-rated movie. And adults would like it because it's got a serious, complicated, dramatic, and understandable and heroic themes in it. Great movie. I can't recommend it enough. Thumbs up. 95% out of 100. 4 out of 4 stars. Great movie. So, I'll probably review Batman Returns in a couple days. I don't know when. But I'll review that movie. I just wanted to review Mask of Phantasm first because it was fresh in my mind, and I watched it first because I don't have much time to spare because school, New Year's, and all that. And it was only an hour and 16, 20 minutes, so I watched it and it was fresh in my mind. So, great movie. Watch it. I recommend it. God bless you.